So I'll just read out what is written here in the introduction, which was just by chance written by me. On the 18th of July 2008, something unusual happened to Rajini Menon. Everything was released from her heart. She felt all the knots dissolving and a blissful state arising from there. She had just moved into her bedroom and sat with legs folded on the bed, her back straight, eyes closed. The children were studying in the other room. They sensed that she was disturbed and never disturbed her at such times. It was 7:30 in the evening and the lights were off in her room. Her attention went to a spot slightly towards the right side, a bit lower to the center of her chest, and a single thought prevailed there, that I am this Atma, here, with no name and form. It just so happened that the last remnants of the mind were cast off totally from her, and then there was probably nothing that she had to think about. Probably her system had foreseen that thinking would extinguish her. Then a stillness spread through her entire being. From that stillness arose a blissful state. She experienced an unbearable joy and felt weightless, as though she was floating. She could not feel the presence of her body. A limitless expanse occurred. She does not know how long she was lost in that state. From then on, she could enter that state of stillness any time she wished. The first thought that came to her after she came out of that thoughtless state was, "Oh, the world is in grief for no reason. For this simple secret is shared with all. If this simple secret is shared with all, everyone can come out of grief and be blissful." The other thing that was absurd was that there were no questions left in her. That was the day when the transformation happened and the last thought, still clinging to her heart, was dropped. She had reached the brim of that maturity level and was thus blessed by divine grace and transformed. That was probably the last knot entanglement remaining that was removed. From then on, she has been living in a liberated state. Nothing ever has touched self since then. Her life totally changed, although nothing changed. One can say it was an overnight event, but it was actually never so. It was in fact a process that was taking place every second of her life, and the completion was overnight. Ever since, there has only been a state of pure wonderment. Before this final change occurred, there were some happenings in her life that are worth mentioning. It was in February 2008 that she happened one night to see her dead body on the marbled floor in the moonlight. The body, though decked up beautifully, was lying there dead, and she asked herself, "Who is lying there?" There came a spontaneous correction in the question as "What is it?" in place of "Who is this?" And the answer came spontaneously, "This is the food for worms." Later, in the months of April and May 2008, she transformed completely into the divine, where Rajini was not allowed to be present at all. This was an inevitable process in her life, as Rajini was incapable of handling situations righteously. In those tough situations, when her being righteous would mean she would be shattered to pieces, and the only way out for her to be righteous was by driving Rajini out and letting the inner divine function through her. This was intentionally done every minute of her waking state, as her presence could that very minute shatter her into pieces. The one easy way out available to her was to shun righteousness, and that would let her breath continue. But then all that was possible only if she, in some corner of her heart, found it agreeable to do that. It was only after surviving this intense period that the final transformation happened. It is inevitable for a pure soul to undergo difficult situations in life, which are really blessings of the divine. It is not easy to handle these tough situations in a righteous way. It is here that the real test comes. Holding on to the divine may lead to your own death. And if you still hold on, it is only out of sheer unconditional love for the divine. It is in this situation of holding on to the divine, even when the very holding on can lead to an encounter with death, that the divine appears face to face. It takes over everything and you disappear. What is left is an embodiment of dharma. This is the point where you overcome death and the real birth happens, the realization of the real I. What is your name?
Krishna Vedant.
Krishna Vedant, okay. when you were a